Welcome back to our channel. Today we're going to have a look at Endgame number 37 from the book 100 Endgames You Must Know by Jesus de la Villa. This is a must-read book for all club chess players. And in this endgame, we are moving on to knight and pawn versus the bishop endgame. Now, these kinds of endgames are very tricky because of the knight. And in this endgame, we are looking at mainly the central pawns, and in this endgame, the author of this book has given three principles or three rules that you need to remember. Now, there is something called the stopping diagonal, and in this case, these are the A7 to G1 diagonal and the E1 to H4 diagonals are considered as the stopping diagonal. So if these diagonals are 5 squares or more, then the bishop is able to stop the pawn without the assistance of the king. So that's rule number 1. Rule number 2 is if one of the diagonals is more than 5 squares and the other one is 4 squares, then the the attacking team, in this case the black team, is able to force a win. But that too is, of course, white has to make the wrong choice, and we'll see that in this video. And then the final one is if the if one of the diagonals is 5 squares or more and the shorter diagonal is 3 squares, then black has a very high chance of winning this position. So now going back to this game, the first one is the bishop choosing the wrong diagonal, which is the shorter diagonal in this case. And how can black win this? Black can play king g2 and white can bring the king forward. After knight e4, black actually moves the bishop to e1, knight c5. After king d6, as you can see, the king is coming forward, and here knight d3. Now this, what it does is, here knight takes these two squares from this whole diagonal, and after bishop h4, then king goes to h3, and as you can see, the knight controls these two squares and the king controls these two squares. And because this square is less than 5 this diagonal is less than 5 squares, the two black pieces are able to force this bishop away from this diagonal, and once the bishop goes off, the pawn will be able to promote safely. So going back to the original position, we looked at bishop h4 going to the wrong diagonal. However, instead of that, if bishop had played bishop c5 check going to the long diagonal here, then they would be able to draw this position. King g2, after bishop g1, knight d1, knight f2, bishop h2, and here king comes forward, and then knight attacks the bishop d4, and then king e2. You've got to be very careful here because the knight is about to come to e3. To avoid that, the bishop goes to g1, and this is actually a drawish endgame. You can do it yourself. The only difference in this is, had the white king been on a8, this position would have been lost for white. You probably might need to do it yourself. Just set up the board yourself and try to find the win for black. But apart from that, everything else is covered for this endgame. I hope you enjoyed this video. For more videos like this, please like and subscribe, and it's bye for now.